This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. There is the 9th of March 2022, the 4th anniversary of the handshake. And I am 2M.
I am CS.
Happy birthday, handshake. I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are.
Yeah.
In the Daily Nation, the fall of Mike Sonko. In the Standard, massive crackdown on rogue border. In the Star, cases that forced US to ban Sonko. And in the People Daily, Uhuru wields big stick on border. 2M, kick us off.
Now today, we want to dedicate the book, The Team of Rivals by Doris Goodwin, to Kenya's foremost plant scientist, William RUTO. Mr. RUTO, sir, good evening and happy Handshake Day. The Team of Rivals is a story about how former US President Abraham Lincoln co-opted his fiercest political rivals, particularly one William Seward. Right before the 1860 presidential elections, Lincoln and Seward were bitter opponents. Seward was a radical who believed that Lincoln should never have been president because he was in pedigree. He basically looked down on Lincoln. But when Lincoln won the election, he invited Seward to become his Secretary of State.
Really?
Yes. Seward was shocked by Lincoln's class act. He accepted and went ahead to being Lincoln's closest ally.
Sounds like something for 48 Laws of Power.
Absolutely. The two became so close that when cabinet happened and Lincoln and Seward showed up together, everyone knew that whatever they were about to discuss had been decided a few minutes earlier.
Really?
By the two, absolutely. In fact, slavery was abolished when both were in the same team in 1863. It was the year of emancipation for black folks. What's my point here? Lincoln and Seward are the equivalent of Uhuru and Raila. In fact, Kenya's best years are when Raila and the opposition joined government. When Raila Odinga and President Kibaki joined forces, Kenya registered its highest ever economic growth of 8.4% in 2010. Vision 2030 was born out of Kibaki and Raila coming together. In fact, the SGR project RUTO takes credit for in foreign capitals was conceived by Kibaki and Raila. Enter handshake. During handshake, Kenya became Africa's 6th wealthiest nation. During handshake, Kenya became the first country in Africa to construct its own seaport since the 1890s. During the handshake, we constructed Africa's largest oil terminal, the Kipevu Oil Terminal. During a handshake, for the first time in Kenya's history, Kenya registered double-digit economic growth in the last 2 quarters of this year.
You are not making this up, are you?
It is not, nothing is made up. But it's during handshake that we have not registered a single corruption case. No Kimorera Naror, no Kenya pipeline theft, no fake gun scandal. In fact, for the first time since 1988, Kenya has not imported maize, sugar, or rice for the last 3 years, despite us having drought spells every year.
You're joking.
I'm telling you. And the only constant has been Raila Odinga joining government. Therefore, Bwana RUTO, whether or not you are consulted about the handshake, we are not concerned. You are just but a detail.
A footnote.
The welfare of the Kenyan Commonwealth is too important to require you are being consulted.
Yes, indeed.
If we must stay on the path of continuity and economic progress, like we have in the last 4 years, where you are ghost worker, it won't matter where you will be. Raila must be president, whether we Dickney or we Kithney.
Ghost worker number 1. Ghost worker 001. William Samoei Ruto. Last 4 years.
Thursday, June 21st, 1990. Nelson Mandela visited the City College of New York in Harlem, which had awarded him an honorary doctorate in absentia 7 years prior to his visit, while Mandela was still in prison. During his visit, he participated in a town hall style meeting where he was interviewed by renowned broadcast journalist Ted Koppel. The interview ended up being an intellectual sparring match. And at the height of the interview, Ted Koppel tried to corner Mandela into commenting on the internal affairs of Libya and Cuba. But Mandela called out Mr. Koppel, for engaging in what is commonly referred to as American exceptionalism, whereby one set of standards and norms is acceptable for America and another set is acceptable to other countries, and especially developing countries. Essentially, double standards.
Yes.
Mandela, being a statesman, had refused to comment or critique on the internal affairs of American politics. And whereas Ted Koppel found this acceptable, he still pushed Mandela to comment on the internal affairs of Libya and Cuba. It was at this moment that Mandela said, "Apparently, Mr. Koppel, you have not listened to my arguments. And if you have done so, you have not been serious in examining them."
Apparently, Mr. Koppel, you have not listened to my argument. If you have done so, then you have not been serious in examining it. I have replied to one of our friends here that I have refused to be drawn into the differences that exist between various communities inside the USA. You have not commented that I am going to offend anybody by refusing to involve myself in the internal affairs of the USA. of the USA. Why are you so keen that I should involve myself in the internal affairs of Cuba and Libya?
No.
I expect you to be consistent. I don't know if I have paralyzed you.
No.
Nelson Mandela told Ted Koppel that any man who changes his principles depending on who he is dealing with, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
But for anybody who changes his principles depending on whom he is dealing, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
Yes.
William RUTO.
The biggest takeaway from William Ruto's globe-trotting is that he has exposed to the world that in this election, he is the candidate of double standards, the prince of duplicity and doublespeak.
Yes.
A man who changes his principles depending on who he is dealing with.
Yes.
He is therefore a man who is not fit to lead a nation.
Yes.
We can also therefore understand why, when he was at Chatham House, William Ruto dismissed the notion that the prospect of Raila becoming president is a Mandela moment. In fact, he said it was nonsense.
Let's not gloss over big words, unity of the country, a second liberation, Mandela moment. No, I mean, this is all nonsense. I'm sorry.
What this exposes is that a man who cannot recognize good leadership can therefore not be a good leader. Let us not forget that William Ruto was the same person who told us Kofi Annan is an idle man who should find something better to do, at a time when Kofi Annan, who had just finished his stint as UN Secretary General, was helping to broker the peace that resulted in the government of national unity.
Kofi Annan is an idle man to find time all the time to come to our country. I think Kofi Annan should find something more useful to do.
One wonders what Ruto preferred as an alternative to a negotiated peace.
Yes.
Could this be the reason he now has 2 cases at the ICC? Crimes against humanity and now obstruction of justice?
My goodness.
We want to tell Ruto why Raila becoming president is a Mandela moment for Kenya.
Tell us.
It is because principled leadership is especially important in seasons when a nation is going through major transformations and transitions. Precisely because when a nation is transforming rapidly, it should be careful not to forget where it is coming from and what it stands for. One can change methods, one can change positions on issues, one can even change and improve constitutions, but the nature of principles is that they do not change.
Do not change. Formulas can change, principles never, ever change.
Raila has demonstrated his consistency in matters of principle. He forgave Moi publicly for putting him in detention and even agreed to the merger of KANU and NDP to form new KANU. Raila agreed that a government of national unity with Kibaki was better than a divided nation. And Raila agreed that a handshake was far much better than talks of secession and splitting Kenya in 2. Similarly, when Nelson Mandela left prison after 27 years, he too forgave those who had detained him. And instead of preferring to be the president of of a divided nation. He fostered a rainbow nation for all South Africans, black and white.
Yes.
That is the spirit of the handshake.
Come
The
on.
spirit of Isaiah 1:18. The spirit of come, let us reason together.
Oh, yes.
That is Azimio la Umoja. One
Hallelujah.
nation, one people. And that, Mr. William Ruto, is what the Mandela moment is about.
Oh, gentlemen, I think the Holy Spirit is upon us today. Honestly speaking, wow. Now, last week, I'll shift gears just a little bit. I'm so sorry, dear viewers. That was the climax. Last week, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka insisted that Raila Odinga should back him for the presidency. And in response to this, Raila has invited Kalonzo to a battle royale on the 12th of March 2022, where Azimio delegates will make their determination on whom its flag bearer will be.
Yes.
Of course, Kalonzo won't agree, Kalonzo being Kalonzo.
Yes.
And so we are at a stalemate.
Yes.
Now, Kalonzo controls a base of about 1.4 million Kamba votes.
Yes.
He's not so much the indecisive kingmaker, as he's been framed in the past few weeks, but rather the incorrigible kingmaker.
Yes.
Now, how should we resolve this impasse? Because this is a question on very many people's minds this week. A lot of decision makers. How do we get Kalonzo to agree to Azimio?
Yes.
Here is a thought inspired by the war that went on between the IRA and the Brits.
Right.
Now, during the 80s and the 90s, Britain was very much like Somalia. Every few weeks, there were IRA bomb blasts all around London's CBD.
Yes.
Any day could be your last.
Yes.
For ages, politicians had been trying to negotiate a truce between Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland.
Yes.
And for ages, they failed.
Yes.
Each side would manage to find a reason to walk out of the talks. But then, in 1998, a game changer by the name Mo Lam entered the scene. She was made the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. And courtesy of her, the bombs stopped raining down on London. So the question is, how did she resolve this impasse? Mo Lam was unconventional in all her ways. The most powerful weapon she had was her wig. Her wig. Mo Lam was having a treatment for a brain tumor, and it made her hair fall out naturally. Now, normally, she wore a blonde wig, so no one noticed. But when the talks reached a point where no one could agree, all of the men just sat staring in the room, staring at each other. And that's the point at which Mo Lam would then take her blonde wig off and drop it on the table in front of them, then sit there scratching her bald head until somebody backed it down. The men, Catholic or Protestant, couldn't stand the embarrassment, and the deadlock would be broken. Mo Lam forcibly disrupted the process of stagnation, and of course that caused a great deal of discomfort. The lesson here is simple. Being comfortable is what makes us stay in a stalemate.
Complacence.
And this is because that which is familiar is safe and it is comfortable to us. We get complacent, as you say. So Kalonzo resting somewhere in Yala or Yatta with his 1.4 million votes in the bag, he's super comfortable right now. And that is why he remains an incorrigible kingmaker. So how do we bring him back to the fold? It's simple. Kalonzo Dawayake is the fear of missing out and also the fear of irrelevance. The message Kalonzo needs to be given is simple. Raila does not need him, nor the Kamba nation, in order to become president. And by the way, ladies and gents, this is a factual statement. Raila's historic 44%, which he has always received, will be intact in 2022.
Absolutely.
And with that in the bag, all he will require is 6% plus 1 to reach the 50% plus 1 threshold. Now, if we project a national turnout of about 15.7 million voters, or about 68% of the entire voter register, and that is based on history, the last very many elections we've had in the multi-party era, we will find that the 50% plus 1 threshold is about 7.8 million votes.
Yes.
Now, if you take Raila's 44% of
Yes.
15.7 million,
Yeah.
that's about 6.9 million.
Yes.
And now we did a recent poll here at the Fort Hall School of Government. It told us that Raila in Central marshals 25.7% of the Gemma vote.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're at 6.9 million to the 25%,
Yes.
which is equivalent to 1.1 million,
Yes.
you get 8 million votes. And just like that, Raila will have crossed the 50% plus one threshold by a comfortable margin, round one,
Yes.
of 200,000 votes.
Right.
In sum, the combination should not sit pretty thinking they are the only kingmakers in town. And Kalonzo would do well not to condemn his nation to another 5 years in the political code. So, to Kalonzo,
Yes.
kuja tuunge serikali pamoja,
Yes.
kesi mbele,
Kesi baadaye.
Kesi baadaye.
kesi baadaye,
Yes.
sindio?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have a 3-part criteria that we
love it.
have to assess the headlines.
Yeah.
Topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and thoughtful or just plain lazy.
Yeah.
I think we give it to the people daily.
Absolutely.
Who wills big stick on reckless Boda Boda
Kiboko.
nation. Yeah, fantastic. So I'm going to toss the rest over there. And on to the cartoons. Cartoons. Shall we begin with the Daily Nation?
Yeah, Daily Nation, we have 2 cartoons. It's basically William Ruto, here being referred to as William Odinga Ruto. In the upper section, he's saying we have our own tallying center.
Yeah.
In another one, he's holding a megaphone and claiming rigging. And then below there, he's doing press-ups with one finger saying we will defend our votes.
Yes.
And this basically speaks to the fact that William Ruto has taken up the opposition script.
Yes.
He has had a premonition that he will be in opposition.
I love this. I love this. Fantastic. And it goes to what JM was talking about. This is schizophrenic.
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 Mr. Duplicity.
Yes, multiple personality disorder. Shall we tackle the Star?
The Star, you have the drawing of Boda Boda riders, and they are riding above the law, riding over the law. You know, and the context is some miscreants out there decided they can harass a woman in broad daylight and force her out of a car. You know, it's a very sad incident. But there's one thing here. If they can do this now, 5 months to the election, they can imagine what they would do when Ruto is president. And I think William Ruto has emboldened this hustler nation people.
Yes.
And look, if God forbid we have chaos or post-election chaos, this will be worse than 2007, and that's because it will not take an ethnic angle. It will have a class angle to it. If you have over 1 million Boda Boda people out there riding, and they have been, indoctrinated by this hustler king, we are staring at a national security threat bigger than we've ever thought.
The hostile nation, it's a lawless nation. That's what this cartoon is telling us.
Lawless.
Completely lawless.
Absolutely.
As is William Ruto, lawless.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we put that in the parking bay to consider.
Yeah.
Now, in the Standard, we have a cartoon depicting a snake by the name Tribalism, and it's jealously guarding its eggs. And the cartoon is titled Election Hatching Season.
Yeah.
Well, what I will say to this cartoon are fairly pessimistic.
Yes.
But, I mean, we must agree that every election must have an organizing principle
Yes.
all over the world.
Yeah.
It's either class,
Yes.
it is religion,
Yes.
it can be race,
Yeah.
it can be ethnicity,
Yes.
it can be anything else. Now, we have chosen our poison. And our poison as human beings in Kenya is
tribe.
ethnicity. It's tribe, you know. So it is what it is. It's a natural fact of
history.
Politics,
Yes.
of history.
Yes.
So that I think
I think
neutralizes this cartoon. I think we should
I
toss
think we tossed that one.
toss that one.
Yeah.
What do you think about-
I
yeah.
propose we keep the nation and the Star.
And the Star. So we award
Yes.
our winning cartoons then
Yes.
to the Star and to the Nation. And we have our winning headline from the People Daily. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens, Pang, Free to Air, Go TV, and Star Times. I'm on Maina wa Kagema. That's where you can find me on TikTok.
You can find me or follow me at Chakasichangi on Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter at KMiner and TikTok Kandabongo.
Have a good evening.